I'm going to give you this JPEG. And let's do this real quick. Now what I did, hang on. And I would do this, I would do the apple shape, probably the stem shape, and then the leaf shape on separately. I think it'd be easier. I'm gonna go smooth this a little bit. Now, what I did, which I haven't usually done before, is I created these boxes. And then I picked sort of like maybe a mid and a dark. I probably want to go that dark, maybe there. I don't want huge leaps here. You'll see why in a minute. Try again. And then maybe a high. And then I added one more in here. But you guys see how I'm getting a scale right here, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
So here's the tool we're going to use. So this thing we were talking about casually last week. Okay, so these are vector, okay? So I think Gretchen was talking about realistic stuff. There it is. So here's what we're going to use, which is the gradient mesh tool. This another one. There's the gradient mesh. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Only we're going to do it on a, obviously not a insane scale. So when you grab the gradient mesh tool, which is right here, this little meshy looking thing. When I click on this, I don't want any color in it yet. When I click on this, as I move up, it's going to sort of figure out if I'm going vertical or horizontal. And it's really just going to do that by how far over I get. Then down here, it'll start to create. What it's basically creating is a wire mesh. You can see I'm getting a little plus symbol there every time it's good to go. Now I could add more. Now here's another thing. I could come in here and I could shape these. However I want to do that, okay? Now, to make it easier so it's not disappearing on me, I could go, you're going to use Command Y a lot here, which is up here. Outline, Command Y. I'll go Command Y, because then it doesn't disappear on me. And if I needed to come in here and tweak these, like those people did with all that crazy stuff they're doing, that's how you would do it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Command Y, and I'm going to get a base. So I'm just going to select this whole thing. And I'm going to start with this mid. And then based on what I'm looking at here, I'm going to go to Y. Okay, so if I try and go with my white arrow tool and grab a bunch of these, that's what's going to happen. So I have to go to Command Y, and then I can go, let me look at the So I'm looking here. I don't want that highlight yet. Just looking at this area, how it's getting lit. So I'm going to go to Command Y. Just loop over a bunch of these. Don't pick one in particular because then you'll grab it. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go up here and go to my lighter value. And I can start, you know, what you're going to see is it's all about transitions here. That's why I've got this little scale here. So if I go, let's go, yeah, like right here. So I go right here, 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 here. And I start subtly building those shapes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, what you want to do is you want to end up with something like this. Nice, simple, clean, including this up here. Okay, which is just an illusion. They lit it right there. Then this went into a dark, and then they lit it right there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Now look at this one. They don't have a bunch of a tiny mesh. You might want to start with a bigger one to keep it simple. Okay, because what people end up doing is they end up with these patchwork things, which I'm starting to get right now, actually. They end up with a lot of this. Like shit like this. They just start getting this blotchy. You can't do that. These transitions have to, that's why I built this. So I could go, you know, subtle transitions. And you know what? I'll put up this one too, just as a, just as an example of how you want to get it, you know, nice and smooth. Okay, now here's the other thing. This stuff in the leaf, like these veins, don't do that with the mesh. Just get the overall like shift in values, greens. And then I'll show you how to do that over the top of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So the trick here, one of the tricks, your Command Y, remember that. Now, if I go like, if I grab one of these, it's gonna, you know, grab it, or I'm in my black arrow tool. If I grab this, it's gonna do that. If I'm gonna grab a bunch of them, I gotta click off of it and then start not on a point, and then I can select a lot of points. That make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I can, you know, come in here and go, okay, slightly darker. You know, and then this needs a transition. And this needs a transition. It's going too dark to too light, you know. So it might be like here. Probably need a value a little in between. You know, so I start getting those smooth transitions. Does that make sense? You don't want this like I got over here going on, this stair steppy, you know, nonsense. You want a nice, clean, smooth transition. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, you can also go, you know, grab whatever shape you want or whatever points you want. And then just come here and grab this, you know, and sample right off the apple if you want. The thing I like to do is simplify it into like 3. That we have a dark, medium, light, and that's sort of a nice overall starting point. And then I can add in little values in between. And then you'll do the same thing with this stem. And then again, this, your leaf, is really half-assed. Probably enough. Start here. You know, and then start. Just doing all the shifts, and then we'll put this stuff in after. Does that make sense?